Press.
Okay. Gong qing da de seng ting, wei zi fa hui ji qie zhong sheng, jing zhuan miao fa lun jiao dao wo men, 如何了生脱死离苦得乐，所证无生。为了三个 we great virtue, how to compassion. For the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach us how to live suffering and attain bliss and end birth and death and quickly realize numbers.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo sadanto suchedoye olahudi samyao samputoshe.
Namo sadanto suche doye erlahadi sanmiao samputoshe.
无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. Alrighty, appreciate the Dharma request, Cliff. 师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛, Venerable Master, Dharma friends, welcome. Today is Sunday, October 8th, here in the Gold Coast of Queensland. It's Saturday night in Berkeley, California, the 7th of October. We're here to explain, expound, share the Flower Garland Sutra, and I want to welcome you and also appreciate the volunteers who are making this possible, bringing the lecture to you wherever you may be around the planet, and also helping to translate into Chinese and also into Vietnamese. If you, let's see, those of you who are hearing this lecture in Chinese, comes through the kindness of volunteers who are making it possible, likewise in Vietnamese. So let's continue with our intro, let's see here. There we are. Continue with our invocation, inviting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly to draw near. Namo Da Phang Quang Pho Huai moving on to say that we respectfully acknowledge the Kombumerri people of the Ugambe language region as traditional storytellers and custodians of the land where our monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and all First Nations peoples whose sovereignty was never ceded. And 就说我们恭敬地承认有冈贝语族的公布马里人是我们寺院所在地的传统建续和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长老们表示致敬，并且向他们从未被弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。I will learn to say that more smoothly one of these weeks. I had the other one down, but now we've improved the Chinese and I can't say it smoothly. Here we go. We are going to recite the bell song as presented to us by Master Shenhua. The bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000劫内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训起法界和平，利益报他诺后德。Done. All right. Here we are. And today we're going to finish up the verses of Manjushri Bodhisattva as he, in the Avatamsaka assembly, serves as a narrator. I have a new understanding of what he is doing here. And I'll talk about that just a little bit. The Avatamsaka Sutra has some very, let's see, get that centered there. There we go. Has some very magical, what do you say? Inconceivable, Bukkha Sui. There are many aspects of the Flower Garland Sutra that are not something that we can think about, talk about, logically reason our way out of. They're extraordinary. And they come from a mind free of the limits of self and what belongs to the self, me and mine, which is this great obstacle to wisdom. One of those qualities is the presence of Samantabhadra and Manjushri, two bodhisattvas. They accompany the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni, our Buddha in our lifetime, in our world, the lifetime of our world. They're the two teaching hosts who make up what are called the Huayan Sansheng, the three sages of the Avatamsaka assembly. And they take a lot of the teaching duties from the Buddha. And one of these unusual, strange, and magical aspects of the Avatamsaka is that the teaching of it is given to Vairochana Buddha. Now, Vairochana and Shakyamuni have a relationship Vairochana is said to be the Dharma body of Shakyamuni, and Lushana, otherwise, so Lushanofo, Rochana maybe translates Buddha, is the reward body, and Shakyamuni Buddha is the transformed bodies, plural, of this Trinity. So if you look at the story of the Avatamsaka, they say that Shakyamuni Buddha explained it first. Immediately upon awakening under the Bodhi tree, that was the first duty of Shakyamuni Buddha, was to talk about what he saw through his brand new wisdom. He described the Dharma realm, and this is called the Sutra of the Dharma realm, Fa Jie Zhi Jing. Now, the thing about that explanation of what the Buddha is seeing is that it's unfiltered, it's not homogenized, it's not dumbed down, it's not aimed at we beginners on the path, or ordinary bhikshus, bhikshunis, students of the Dharma who are laymen and laywomen. It's aimed at bodhisattvas and devas. And so it's unfiltered. And my only way of coping with that and making sense of it, and mind you, we haven't touched the sutra yet, but I'm trying to get to Manjushri Bodhisattva and the role he plays in this, and why it's amazing to get to hear from Manjushri. When I climbed in the state of Colorado, in the Colorado Rockies, a mountain called Castle Peak, and Castle Peak is above Aspen and in that area. It's a 14,000-foot mountain, and of course, you start out high. You don't travel 14,000 feet because you're not starting at sea level, but it's still quite a hike. And when I got to the top of Castle Peak after much effort, having nothing above you on any side, having 360 degrees of air, and you being on top of it with just your feet on this mountain peak. And I looked at the U.S. Geodesic Survey. They've got a little copper plaque that says Castle Peak, 14,280 feet. And so looking out at nothing above you and nothing to the left and to the right, and Denver is this little smudge way, way, way off in the distance. The planes are flying in the valleys below you, and the birds are tiny, and the cars down on the road are just this big. My first reaction at being so high and on top of everything else was to look at my feet. I didn't want to raise my eyes because there was vertigo. It's like, oh my God, what if I fall off? And it takes a while to reorient the nothingness, the emptiness on all sides, that you're one of the highest. Now, there are peaks higher, certainly, but that is one of the tallest peaks. And I didn't want to face all that nothingness. I couldn't digest having nothing above, That, I believe, is something like the experience of ordinary folks face to face with what the Buddha saw in his newly awakened wisdom and what he explained in the Avatamsaka. So the Avatamsaka is a little bit like being on top of a mountain with nothing around you. It's a lot to take in. So you can get used to it. And after you do, there's nothing to compare with that liberation of being able to let go and merge with the Dharma realm, with all ru fa jie, merging with the Dharma realm, not necessarily entering the Dharma realm. Entering means this intact thing goes from this side to that side intact. You've only gone through a door from this space to that space, but you're still together. I think it's much more a sense of when you ru fa jie, when you merge with the Dharma realm, your boundaries expand to the point of dissolving. And the former you that was here is now tong ti, same body. You are embodying everything in the Dharma realm, something like that. So here's the Buddha explaining it. And he doesn't explain it as Shakyamuni Buddha. So they say Shakyamuni Buddha does not speak the Avatamsaka Sutra. He gives that job to multiple other spokespersons, including Manjushri Bodhisattva, primarily Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, but even some devas speak the Avatamsaka Sutra, and many other bodhisattvas. 10 practices is Gongdo Lin Pusa, forest of merit and virtue. The 10 transferences is spoken by Vajra Banner, Jingang Chuang Pusa. The 10 stages, Jingang Zang Pusa, treasury of Vajra Bodhisattva. So very interesting. It's like, the Buddha didn't speak the Avatamsaka? Yes, he did, but not as Shakyamuni Buddha. You go, yeah, I get that. Okay, here's another one of those. Remarkable, amazing. Every time the Avatamsaka Sutra was spoken 7 different times in 9 locations, twice the Buddha returned to a specific place to speak. And one of those places is here, the Jada Grove. This is and in a pagoda in the Jada Grove. Another one of those marvelous Avatamsaka moments is that when the bodhisattvas all arrive, having been notified that it's time to listen to the Avatamsaka Dharma, the entering the Dharma realm, the concluding chapter, they all show up, and there's not enough room for them in the Jada Grove, and so the Buddha makes this pavilion expand. And he just goes, shazam, and the square footage of the Jada Grove's pavilion is big enough to encompass all the bodhisattvas and the rest of the audience. So Manjushri is now, today's passage of the text, Manjushri Bodhisattva is saying, oh, I'll tell you what's going on here in the Jada Grove. Who's here? What are they doing? Ooh. So he's a narrator. He's kind of like a separate, on a separate track, making a commentary to the actual action. He has not arrived yet. He's about to, but he is still a bystander, observing and reporting to us what he sees going on there. And of course, Manjushri sees with the eyes of wisdom, looking through the Buddha's vision. Another one of those remarkable, uniquely Avatamsaka situations that logic doesn't cover, science can't explain, language falls short. It's that Manjushri Bodhisattva, this person who we know as Wen Shu Shili Pusa, Miao Qishang Pusa, wondrously auspicious, really, really lucky Bodhisattva. That's Miao Qishang, marvelously lucky. Bodhisattva is that his identity as Manjushri is provisional. That is to say, in itself, it is an expedient means because Manjushri has been a Buddha before. That's how the story goes. Manjushri Bodhisattva is appearing as a bodhisattva by choice because he wanted to teach. He wanted to help Shakyamuni Buddha in his body as Vairochana or Rochana or transformed, aiding the bodhisattvas who were speaking. Manjushri wanted to be his lieutenant bodhisattva, his supporter, his vice bodhisattva, his assistant bodhisattva, along with Samantabhadra. So this is previous Buddha, present bodhisattva Manjushri. And the story goes, he will become a Buddha again, which will be number 7, his 7th appearance as a Buddha. How about that? It's like you go, oh, headache. Yeah, huh? Am I supposed to understand that? You can marvel at it. You don't have to say, oh, I understand fully. You don't have to do that. In fact, as soon as you rely on, I have full knowledge of what's going on, you're not telling the truth, or you are already a Buddha. So this is marvelous stuff. And I took this moment before we begin today to do another an introduction to Manjushri, because I realized that so much of the Avatamsaka experience, so much of the Mahayana experience requires us to travel, so to speak, in the woods, through the bush a lot. We're in the valley a lot, with the promise that we will emerge from the woods. We will come out of the bush into a clearing. We will get out of the valley into the mountain plateau above at a certain point. And that's okay. There's a lot of ground to cover. And when we come out of the woods, out of the bush, into the clearing, onto the plateau above the valley, that work isn't done then. And that's a difference. That's a real difference. There's a whole side of our Buddhist family that takes as its goal liberation, getting free, and that's it. You've succeeded. You're done. And nothing, I mean, what a huge accomplishment to put an end to samsara at that point. The promise of the Mahayana and the Avatamsaka as its current vessel, the current ship that we're sailing on is the Avatamsaka. The promise is not that it ends. It's that you gain greater mastery of your role incarnating into a form so that you can wake others up. There's no guarantee, there's no promise that when it's over, you're liberated and free. Look at Manjushri, bodhisattva. He was a Buddha and didn't quit. He came back because knowledge that the universe doesn't end, it just reforms. Matter comes into energy, and here's matter, and there's energy, and energy comes into matter, and energy keep shifting. That and recycling. That's an understanding of the universe that the Mahayana completely embodies. So this interchange between energy and matter that Newtonian physics describes. So the Buddhists would say, yes, indeed, that's one of the building blocks, that's one of the principles that we work with. So let's get to work. All right, that being said, let's get to work. Here we go. Manjushri Bodhisattva. There we go. Not gonna, yep, there we go. Yep, back to, there we go. All right. Ready. 十多林上虚空中，所有庄严法妙音，普说三世诸菩萨，成就一切功德海。In space, directly above the Jada Grove, all those adornments make wonderful sounds, teaching all how bodhisattvas in the 3 periods cultivate excellent virtues, ocean-wide in extent. 怎么样啊? What's going on here? So adornments. Adornments could be things like, I'm looking outside right now. It has been raining this morning. Adornments could be the beautiful green leaves of the gum trees, of the tea trees, of the, what else do we have here? We have frangipanis bushes. We have, what else? The national flower of Hong Kong is not bougainvillea. Yeah, my botanical names have escaped me. I'm looking at about 9 different kinds of vegetation here, all beautifully moving in the wind, raindrops falling off, and magnificent adornments of Queensland's hinterland, the Gold Coast hinterland, where I am here in Benogan and Mudgeeraba. Those are the adornments here, and the light itself, the beautiful midday light filtering down through the mist of a rain. In the midst of drought, we're having rain today. Those are the adornments. In the Jada Grove, Manjushri Bodhisattva was describing what? Out of the Buddha's skin pore come transformations, jeweled trees and flowers, jeweled flames, endless adornments here. And notice what he says. He says the objects have another quality, which is they make sounds. They speak, mostly in languages, but probably also musical sounds. The wonderful sounds that they make are what? One of the aspects of the Avatamsaka, which actually has a name in Western science, which is what? Synesthesia. Synesthesia 就是说眼睛可以闻味道，耳朵可以摸到触，那个身体可以闻声，可以看东西。So all of the different 6 senses interchange. Synesthesia means somehow in the wiring of our 6 senses, eyes and ears and nose and tongue and body and mind lose their boundaries and can interchange. They mutually function. So things that ordinarily don't speak can speak. Things that ordinarily can't see can see. At the same time, they are still flowers and trees and incense and buildings and canopies and groves and fragrance, etc. Synesthesia. Here, in space above the Jada Grove, all these wonderful things. For me, I'm looking out the window at the tea tree and that magnificent cedar across the way. Yeah. And those things are making sounds. Now, yeah, as when the wind blows, I hear, whoosh, I can hear that. It's not language. The marvelous thing about the Jada Grove is all of these objects, these adornments, make language that is speaking Dharma. What's the point of speaking Dharma? So when you hear it, you go, oh, I understand. I see. That makes sense. What would be one of the greatest joys of being alive? People ask me a lot. I get this when people want to be profound, or they see a monk, they think monks should be able to provide secrets to the universe. What do they ask for? What is the meaning of life? That's the question. We had a kids' workshop a couple of weeks ago here in the Gold Coast, and the kids submitted questions for the monk, and called Stump the Monk, right? So, ask a monastic. So what questions did the kids come up with? What is the meaning of life? That's pretty much question number 1 when you want to be pseudo-profound. So my answer at the time was help people when you can, as the situation arises. All right, fair enough, help people. People need help. if I was asked again, if somebody on YouTube right now, listening in, our community, listening to the Avatamsaka lecture, wanted to type in a question, maybe our tech rep today, our SysOp, will monitor the questions on YouTube and send them on to me. Feel free to do that if you want. So, what is the meaning of life? If somebody wants to ask me that question, my answer would be understanding. To understand. Why? Because that's the most joyous thing. People think, okay, what would make you most happy? What would make me most happy would be a lot of money. Yeah, not for sure. Because if you have a lot of money, other people see it and they steal it from you. If you have a lot of money, the government requires some in taxes. You have to support others. If you have a lot of money, you can buy a lot of stuff and then be miserable. They talk about the 8 kinds of suffering. Well, there's a 9th one. There's one of the 8 kinds of suffering is 求不得苦, seeking and not getting. Definitely there is a suffering that is seeking and getting. It's called buyer's remorse. Oh, the package arrives and what happens? Oh, goodness, somebody steals it off your front porch. There's a major issue in America of package theft. People who actually follow delivery trucks around, and the delivery truck drives away and the car pulls up and grabs the package and drives away with it before you can get to the door. So there's a new industry in America, which is locked package drop-off sites that you rent if you get a lot of packages. So that's one way of seeking and 求而得苦, seeking and getting, and it's a cause of suffering. Or you get the package and you open it up and you look at it and you realize that it did not scratch the itch. That's the point of the Dharma, which is, saying what? Saying the problem is not the thing. The issue is not the object in question that you desire, it's desire itself. Because desire, from the Buddhist point of view, is this unending, unquenchable fire. Desire is like a flame, and nothing you can feed it makes it go out to where it stops burning. It has the nature of being insatiable. Desire is insatiable. So what we want to do as Buddhists, as wise non-Buddhists, as wise people, is go, yeah, reaching out to get the thing is never going to bring it back and satisfy. In the reaching out is the suffering, instantly. No matter what it is that you want, whether it's another helping of pie or whether it's cheating on taxes, it never satisfies. That's the nature of desire. So these sounds in the Jade Grove coming from the objects are speaking Dharma like that. And you hear it and you go, it's true. If I can rest content, if I can just be here and go, having my next breath is marvelous. There's today in the Middle East, there is a war going on. And my heart just breaks for the Palestinians and the Israelis going at it again. It's endless and it is all suffering. And you think, imagine this morning here, when I woke up, there was no Wi-Fi. And I realized that I was going to be lecturing from my cabin here at 102 Benogan. And there was no Wi-Fi. What to do? Well, turns out that one of the power generators, one of the couplings that brings power to the modem that allows the signal to transform, was faulty. And there was a real mixed feeling because not being able to go online was a sort of liberation. As soon as we got back online, here came the news of the war starting up again in Israel and Palestine, locked into this fraternal conflict that never seems to end. Who's right, who's wrong? It's a lot of suffering. And my next thought was, when I reached for my computer, imagine if a missile, a rocket came through my roof and destroyed my desk and everything on it. That's the reality of folks in both Israel and Palestine. And that's the current war. Same for Ukraine and Russia. And you just think, we humans are a flawed species. We have the ability to wake up and become greatly wise, greatly content, greatly compassionate, to create incredible miracles of healing for the things that plague being alive in a human body. And yet, we don't reach for them. Here in Australia, we went 2 weeks ago last week, in fact, to see Australia's largest koala sanctuary. Everyone loves koalas. The whole world does. They're so cute. They're just adorable. That's the word for them. And nobody loves them more than Aussies. We love our koalas, and yet we cut down the very habitat where those koalas live. Because why? Too many people. More people are coming. And soon koalas will be available only in sanctuaries, where they bring in tons of eucalyptus leaves to feed them, grown on the Lone Pine Koala Sanctuary in Brisbane has 3 farms that do nothing but grow the kind of eucalyptus leaves that koalas eat. That's going to be the only place to see them because the world around, humans cut them all down, cut down the trees where they live. The only thing they can eat. Heartbreaking. That's what we do. So, back to our sutra. These adornments make wonderful sounds, and those wonderful sounds talk about things like that. They say, how come we people make our lives so miserable when life could be so good? Big question, big question. Bodhisattvas in the 3 periods of time cultivate excellent virtues, ocean-wide in extent. What do? They tell the truth. If I heard an incredible interview yesterday between David Suzuki, the hero of Canada, scientist telling the truth about the environment, and his wonderful daughters, not just one, but multiple daughters. Severin Suzuki, who at age 11 down in Rio told the truth to the United Nations and stood the world on its ear. Well, Severin Suzuki has grown up and married, and yet is still speaking truth. And what is Severin Suzuki, David Suzuki's daughter, saying? She says self-reliance. Communities have to stand up, support each other locally. Do not wait for the government. See the truth, apply it locally in the ground under your feet, in the family under your roof, in the neighborhood on your street, in the local area. That's what will keep humanity going. We know how to survive. Soon it will come to survival. what to do, get to know your neighbors. If you live in a high rise, Amitofo, it's harder when you have depend on an elevator to get in and out of the street. But find your neighbors, because you will depend upon each other for survival when times get hard, as they're coming. We ignore nature at our peril. Look at what humanity can do with nature when we use the Dharma. Jeweled trees in the Jada Grove make infinitely wondrous sounds, sounds that speak of the multitude's ocean-wide karma in all of its variety. Okay, I retranslated this verse. I found this. Look. Manjushri's verses about the bodhisattvas, Manjushri appearing as a narrator, wise in the protocol of the Buddha's lectures, above the goings-on, is telling us the story. His theme is, who's there and what are they doing? What does he say? He says, trees make marvelous sounds that tell us about the karma of bodhisattvas. Think about that. What do your trees tell you? Well, my thought was, I remember my first arrival in Berkeley, California, 1970, 1971, 72, 73. I expanded to go across to San Francisco, across the bay. 74, I shaved my head and became a monk. So those first 3 years that I spent as a graduate student in Berkeley were great discovery, because I had grown up in the Midwest, in the Great Lakes, small Midwestern cities, medium Midwestern cities, Toledo, Detroit, in that area, and went to college there as well. And while we had the Midwestern version of the movements moving through America in the 70s, when I got to Berkeley, there was a feeling of being in touch with the pulse point, being in touch with the actual beating heart of movement. There was a fundamental intelligence pulsing in the East Bay of the San Francisco Bay Area. Still there. It still does. Those 40,000 students and faculty that come together every September, every August, and study through the winter, take a break, study through the spring, and then go back home to Los Angeles and to everywhere else. There is something very powerful there. And to see it visualized, you walked on Euclid Avenue on the North Campus, that's where I spent a lot of my time, or Telegraph Avenue on the south side of the campus. And how you put your fingers on the pulse of what is happening is look at the phone poles, look at the bulletin boards. And the thing about the bulletin boards on Euclid Avenue and on Telegraph Avenue is that's a public space where people notify others of what's going on. And they notify about the karma of Berkeley inhabitants, like the bodhisattvas in the Jada Grove. How do you know what's going on? Read the bulletin boards, read the phone poles. And so many notices were stacked on top of each other, talking about so many activities for so long that the bulletin boards and the phone poles got an extra coating of paper, an inch thick, because you would tell me about your concert, and I would read that and then paste on top of it my notice of a lost dog. And then there would be a sale of harvested fruit, or a car, or lessons, notices of lessons, saxophone lessons, or ballet lessons, or how to a yoga class, right? And then my lost dog, and then my sale of goodies. Oh, so on and on and on. The posters would just extrude from the phone pole or from the bulletin board. And furthermore, there would be, what else? There would be staples, because you'd staple your poster up with a stapler. The staples became so encrusted on the phone pole, it was like the scales on a bearded dragon, the scales on a lizard. The staples, unless somebody tries to pry them out, they're now a part of the bulletin board. So how remarkable. The karma of the citizens of Berkeley is recorded on the phone poles and the bulletin boards, just layers and layers thick. So I thought about what does the sutra say? The sutra says, the jeweled trees make infinitely wondrous sounds, sounds that speak of the multitude's ocean-wide karma in all of its variety. Yeah, in the Jada Grove, trees can talk. And the trees, just like the phone poles on Telegraph Avenue, Euclid Avenue in Berkeley, say, let's see, I raised my own hand, didn't I? Zoom has this wonderful quality that if you, can I make that go away? Let's see here. I want to comment, recognize hand gestures. Oh, goodbye. Drop your hand, please. Ooh, play chime for raised hands. Very cool. If you raise your hand now in Zoom, it'll tell you. Okay. Stop share and drop hand. All right. There we go. Did it. Okay, the trees speak about what's going on, about what bodhisattvas do. Now, it's not talking about concerts or sales or lessons or lost dogs. It's talking about bodhisattvas making peace in the Middle East, talking about bodhisattvas saving the lives of mothers in childbirth, talking about bodhisattvas donating kidneys so that other people can live. Those kind of incredible self-sacrifices for the benefit of others. That's what bodhisattvas do. The multitude's ocean-wide karma in all of its varieties. Came to mind. I had a roommate, and I was an undergraduate in Michigan named David Black, and David was a Volkswagen engine mechanic. He was a genius with tools. He could fix Volkswagen engines. And this was the day when Volkswagens were do-it-yourself. I was a fledgling Volkswagen engine mechanic myself because my roommate could do it and he instructed me. So I had a 1965 Volkswagen bus and I was traveling to Vermont from Michigan in my bus, going to Chinese school, summer school. And I had a parrot in a cage in the Volkswagen, and I had my guitar in the Volkswagen bus. And I was driving through Detroit, Michigan, on one of those incredible highways that go under, down into a overpass and then come back up. And my Volkswagen engine blew up on the spot, seized, and I had to pull over under the underpass with cars, wow, 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 and smoke and exhaust. I was stuck. I was pulled up on the narrow walkway between the close lane and the cement wall. Scary to lose your engine at that spot, in that place. Ooh. So what did I do? I walked up. My poor parrot was just squawking, terrified. Oh. And I walked up out, found a payphone, called back to Rochester, Michigan, got David on the line and said, David, I'm so sorry. Can you possibly save me here? I'm on my way. I'm all packed up, heading to Vermont, and my engine blew up. And he said, what can I do? I said, could you possibly bring an engine and we can change it? He said, all right, for a fee, I will go get a Volkswagen engine, bring it to where you are. We will change it on the spot. He did. David visited a dealer, got a used Volkswagen bus engine, brought it to a vacant lot in Detroit. He and I towed my bus up out of the underpass, over on the exit to the vacant lot, where together he and I spent 4 hours on jacks, lifting the Volkswagen up, fully packed, removing the Volkswagen engine, replacing with the new Volkswagen engine, lowering the bus down, getting me going. Guess what? The engine was faulty. It didn't run. We had to tow the bus to a junkyard to find another engine. We bought an engine, and guess what? The policy of the Volkswagen junkyard, the policy of the junkyard was you could not test the engine beforehand. He lets you know you bought it, you buy it, it's yours, sight unseen. You're not allowed to go in and do compression checks on every cylinder, etc. You couldn't do that. You had to take the engine you bought. We bought it, replaced it. Cylinder number 3 was faulty. So we're now on Volkswagen engine number 3. And David didn't quit. He had things to do, he had classes to attend, but he stayed with me. We went to a Volkswagen dealer's, bought a reconditioned engine, and installed it. David actually threw out his back in the process of holding up the engine while we tightened the bolts inside. Finally, there was the first engine and 2 new ones that went bad, and a 4th. So Volkswagen engine number 4. It ran fine. It got me on the road, and I got to Middlebury, Vermont, driving with a traumatized bird, squawking all the way. And bless his heart, David saw me through. So when I think about bodhisattva's deeds, that just came to mind. I haven't told that story before, but I was, 21 years old, and determined to drive myself to Vermont with the guitar and the bird to learn Chinese. David rescued me. My goodness, if it had not been for him, of course, second, we talked about it a lot. We should have gone to the dealer first. We were trying to save a couple of $100 by going to a junkyard. We didn't. We wound up wasting all that money. The junkyard dealer's name was Warhoop Harry, and Warhoop Harry, we probably should have seen the name and understood the risk involved in buying a Volkswagen engine sight unseen, untested. Well, not recommended, but in the days of do-it-yourself, that's what you did. And busted knuckles, grease under my fingernails, So penny wise and pound foolish. To save a few dollars, we wound up spending much more than if we had gone to the dealers and had them install a new engine. That's what we should have done. Looking back, bless his heart, David Black saved the day. Amitofo. My memory of being saved by bodhisattvas who sacrificed themselves for my benefit so I could get on to this day. At least I can tell his story, lo, these 40 years later. So all the states within the Jada Grove show that let's see, we need to read the Chinese first. Ready? 来，十多林中珠宝树，一处无量妙音声。言说一切诸群生， 种种业害各区别，各差别. The jewel trees in the jada grove make infinitely wondrous sounds, sounds that speak of the multitude's ocean-wide karma in all its variety. And when you think of that, you remember people who have been good to you, truly practicing the unselfishness of the bodhisattva. 林中所有种境界，悉现三世诸如来，一切七大神通，十方刹海为陈述. All the states within this Jada Grove show the Tathagatas of the three periods, each endowed with spiritual powers, as many as particles in 10 directions lands. So in the Jada Grove, Manjushri Bodhisattva is telling us about what's going on, what Bodhisattvas really do as they teach us to be humble, to not forget their kindness, and to go on and be kind ourselves. That's the point. And each one of these kind deeds, every lifetime, it makes an imprint on your eighth consciousness. And the Buddhas have this perfect recall. There's no self in the way. They can sort through all those states. They remember every one and speak of them in the Jada Grove so that living beings can learn and change and grow and help others. So Buddhas of the three periods of time, past, present, and future, each episode on the path. This is called the, what do they call it? This is called the yin di, the ground, the stage of causation, which leads to the guo di, the stage, the ground of fruition now. And here the Buddhas have spiritual powers. So they have the 5 kinds of spiritual vision, the 6 kinds of spiritual abilities, so that they can use these to not waste time as they teach us. As many as particles of 10 directions lands, Avatamsaka number, a lot, a lot. 十方所有诸国度，一切刹海为陈述，悉入如来毛空中，此地庄严皆显度. Countries throughout all directions, number like particles in oceans of lands, enter the Tathagata's every skin pore. Their decorations appear for all to see. So this is Avatamsaka language, and not to be put off by these amazing, talking about countries and skin pores. What is it? The biggest things and the tiniest things. So here's skin, human skin, right there in my wrist. There are, if you look super carefully, it's tiny little skin follicles. If you get a super microscope, you realize that, wow, there's actually lots of holes. My body is covered with many holes. And that's where you can breathe. That's how exchange happens between oxygen and hydrogen and carbon dioxide and all the different wonderful things that make up this human body. Dirty and then clean and then infected and then inflamed and then healthy, and all the things that the body organ, the skin, requires in order for it to function. All it takes is a stinger of a bee or a wasp or a hornet. Ooh, Australia has these incredible hornets that when they sting you, it hurts so badly. Oh, I've seen folks get stung by a hornet just by stepping on their nest or rubbing up against it. We had some stone lanterns just down there, right over there, next to the Buddha, and a family of wasps, hornets, wasps, had made a home inside, and they make these little mud-daubed. And a friend went over to pick up a napkin that had blown over, and the hornets didn't like the fact that that individual got too close, and they stung, and they sting not just once but multiple times. And this image of the pain of my friend being stung multiple times by these hornets will stay with me forever. Terrifying to see how much that sting hurts. It's lightning in your skin. So, right, that's the skin. That's what the skin does, is it registers pain. And yet the hornet stinger is this tiny little thing. It's not big at all, but the skin is so sensitive and so receptive to, it's so flexible and adaptable that when you introduce the toxin that comes from the hornet sting, it stops your world. The pain is intense, and suddenly you're very aware of your skin. Ah, that's my skin. And yet, in the Avatamsaka state, when the self is gone, your nature, my nature, has the ability to expand infinitely, so that the tiniest, something as tiny as a hornet sting pore, skin pore, that size, can encompass the largest thing, like a country. That's, for example, Australia, right? Australia, or New Zealand, or Indonesia with all the islands, the Philippines with all the intense harbors and bays and shorelines and beaches. All the aspects of a country can fit into the tiniest thing with no cramming, no crowding, no obstruction, and infinitely replicating, the tiniest to the biggest and the biggest into the tiniest. Their decorations, their adornments appear for all to see, and you can see the Buddhas as this happens. Space and time merge. Okay, more. 所有庄严皆现佛，树等众生遍世间，一一现方大光明，种种随意化群品。Buddhas appear in these adornments, numerous as beings that fill the worlds. Each one shines with great light to transform the multitudes as each one likes. Okay. That last line, as each one likes, is key, which is to say, Buddhas are here to help us wake up. And people are all different. Not only people are different, oh my goodness. This morning I was noticing, commenting, how marvelous cockatoos are. I'm face to face with these large white birds twice a day now. And when the other day I had 23 cockatoos and one bucket of birdseed that I have to dole out so everybody gets a little bit, nobody gets to bully and grab it all. But when 23 birds arrive, they're all staring at me and they're all incredibly intelligent, and yet they appear as a flock. And in the flock, their behaviors are uptight, nervous, pressured, because there's competition, and just there's something about the group energy of the birds that takes over, kind of like a mob. And that's a very proper Australian phrase, by the way. Good day, ya mob. How you doing? Good day, ya mob. How's she going? Ya mob? Well, a mob of cockatoos arrives, and they're in a rush. They want to grab something because it's going to be grabbed away from them if they don't. The mob goes away, and one or two birds, often in pairs, stay behind, and each one of them is profoundly an individual. I can see the gender difference. The males are more aggressive, and the females are a little observant first, and then they fill in behind. And we have one bird with a permanently extended wing. His name is Dexter. And that bird, I think it's a boy, must be over 20 years old. He is very elderly, and everyone respects him. He's big. He's a big, large bird. So Dexter he likes sunflower seeds, but no crackers. Then there are birds who live for crackers, and they lean forward, and I hand them a cracker, and I take it, I snap it, like that. And actually, as a matter of fact, as I'm telling you this, let me introduce you to Dexter the cockatoo, who is here. Let's see here. I'll search for it here. Let's do date created. Porch videos, I believe he's there. Yes, here he is. Are you ready for Dexter? Here he is. That's your bird. Right there. There is Dexter the cockatoo. Notice his left wing is permanently extended, but he's okay with that. And this is an old cockatoo. He's an old bird, and he's got great character. Let's see here. There he is. That's Dexter. And everybody gives him lots of face. He gets to eat as much as he wants all by himself, and nobody bugs him. There he is. He gets lots of room. So he's a unique individual. And then we have another bird that has a big belly. And I'm not sure what he's all about, but I've known him now for 3 years, and he comes all by himself, or maybe with a companion, because he's a little slower. And then we have a couple birds who are sick. And you can see that they have parasites or something, and so they scratch and scratch and scratch and scratch their feathers off. And it's sad to see them. So my point is that these are feathered neighbors of mine. I'm their neighbor. This is their turf. They are such a distinct species that in the description of the Pure Land, there are birds in the Pure Land: white geese, peacocks, parrots, and egrets, coluvinkas, and two-headed birds. The parrots, yingwu, shuli, right? Yingwu, there they are. Those are cockatoos. And sulfur-crested cockatoos with the yellow crane. And they're uniquely Australian, but they appear, I'm sure that's what is there in the Pure Land, each with an individual personality, different needs, different habits, different likes. And Dexter likes sunflower seeds. The other birds love crackers, and I give them, Polly want a cracker? Well, these parrots want a cracker, and I give them crackers. And there are other birds who just, as soon as they see me, they're scared and they fly away. They're wild birds. There are other birds. I have now one new guy. I've got to get to know him a little. He lands right outside my door, and he looks in. What have you got? Right? He is so not afraid of me that he is ready to deal with anything that I can supply him, because, well, he's got to have, he wants food. He wants me to feed him. How nice. How nice. So what do I do when I see them now is I recite the 7 Tathagatas' names all day long for the birds. Namo Dopao Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Lai, Namo Myasa Sheng Lai, Namo Guangbo Sheng Lai, Namo Libu Wei Lai, Namo Gan, Namo Gan Lai, Namo join me this time? Here we go. Namo Dopao Lai, Namo Bao Sheng Lai, Namo Myasa Sheng Lai, Namo Guangbo Sheng Lai, Namo Libu Wei Lai, Namo Gandu Lai, Namo Hanto Lai. One more time. Namo Dopao Lai. Yes, indeed. names of the 7 Tathagatas, which, when you hear them, are good for creatures with fur and feathers and fins and scales. And it helps them plant good seeds by hearing the names of the Buddhas. Moving forward here, as each one likes. That was my description of what it's like when you say, as each one likes. Every bird is different. How much more so? Your sister, your brother, your uncle, your aunt, your mom, your dad. You know them as mom and dad. They are individuals. They have their own karma. As well as having the affinity with you that makes them your relative. So think of them as individuals heading towards Buddhahood, moving away from suffering. What can I do to help them on their path? Amitofo. We get 3 more verses, and then Manjushri Bodhisattva's verses are done. Let's continue. Here we go. Xiang yan zhonghua ji bao zang, yi che zhuang yan shu miao yun, mi bu guang da deng xu kong, bian man shi fang zhu guo du. Fragrant flames, flowers, caches of jewels, beautiful, magnificent clouds, each as vast as the sky, fill up the countries in all directions. Speaking of caches of jewels, Baozang, wait until Manjushri arrives. One of the things about Manjushri is his blessings are so abundant that wherever he goes, jewels come up out of the earth. Being a Buddha in a bodhisattva's body, that's what it's like. Look at those adornments. Shi fang san shi yi che fo, so you zhuang yan miao dao chang, yu ci yuan lin jing jie zhong, yi yi si xiang jie ming xian. The Buddhas of the 10 directions and 3 periods stay in their wonderful adorned bodhimandals. Amid these states in the Jeta garden, the Buddhas appear, their bodies clear to see. Okay, I got a problem with that translation, and we're going to come back to this because I want to retranslate it to make sense of it. I couldn't make sense of it the way it's translated here. Last one. 一切普贤诸佛子，百千劫海庄严刹，其数无量等众生，莫不于此林中见。All the disciples of Samantabhadra and the Buddha have adorned lands for oceans of eons, their number boundless, the same as all beings, all of whom appear within this garden. Okay, take a look at this one here. Notice that Samantabhadra Bodhisattva is named equal to the Buddha here. All the disciples of Samantabhadra and all of the disciples of the Buddha. Let's look at the Chinese here. 一切普贤诸佛子. Now, another way to translate this would be all the Samantabhadras who are disciples of the Buddha. That's probably a better way to do it. All the disciples of Samantabhadra, all of the disciples of the Buddha who are Samantabhadra, all the Samantabhadras who are disciples of the Buddha, that's probably the better way to do it. Otherwise, we have Samantabhadra's disciples being equal of the Buddha here, which I don't think that's not the way it works here. Have done what? Have adorned lands for oceans of eons. That is Buddhist jargon, man. Talk about Chinglish. I'm going to adorn a land for an ocean of eons. Please don't do it here. What? Have adorned a land for ocean of eons? What does it mean? It means for a very, very long time, eons of time, so many that it's like an ocean. You can only make an analogy like an ocean to say how many eons there are. That's how many eons of time these bodhisattvas have made these incredible wonders appear for us to see. This is what bodhisattvas do, is they adorn, they decorate Buddha lands in the process of celebrating being alive in the Dharma, being free from greed, free from anger. You have a bad temper, do you scold people a lot? It's going to keep you from being able to make these wonderful things appear, to be able to just see sounds coming out of trees talking about bodhisattvas, wonderful experiences, saving others from when their Volkswagen engines blow up in the middle of downtown Detroit in an underpass, with your life cars zooming past you inches away. How we got that bus up out of there safely into the vacant lot without, these days, we couldn't have survived. Anyway, they're number boundless, as numerous as living beings. How many cockatoos in all of Australia? That's one kind of bird in a country full of other kinds of birds. That's how many bodhisattvas are here, adorning lands, all of whom appear right here in the Jade Grove. Whoa. The mind goes, right? Okay. Look at this one here. I want to talk about this. We heard, it started out like this. It started out saying, the Buddhas of the 10 directions and 3 periods stay in their wonderfully adorned bodhimandals. Amid these states in the Jada Garden, the Buddhas appear. It's like, who are we talking about? Living beings or Buddhas? So it should be the Buddhas of the 10 directions and 3 periods of time. First line is fine. While staying in their wonderful adorned bodhimandals, wherever they are in the 10 directions and 3 periods of time, those Buddhas simultaneously, we could even add this. This is not what the Chinese says, but this is how we make sense of it. Simultaneously, appear amid these states in the Jada Grove. Every detail of their body is clear to see. This is what Buddhas can do. They can be physically unmoving in full lotus, sitting there, or maybe walking out of the garden into the street to go on alms rounds, or maybe sitting peacefully with the king or the beggars, speaking Dharma. At the same time, those Buddhas can appear in the Jada Grove, sending lights out, telling the bodhisattvas stories about the Avatamsaka. Every detail of their body is clear to see, and we can see them there. Their bodies are visible. How cool is that? Right. Yeah. You know, that's one of those states, that's one of those Avatamsaka details that we go, that's amazing. Why? It is truly Buddha Sui. It is inconceivable. And marvelous for that. And so what's our relationship to it? Knowing it's inconceivable and incredible, do we go, can't get it, too much, far out, amazing? Well, up to you. Some of us are completely with it. We're just like, yeah, this is great. Others of us are challenged by it. Science, some people write it off. There are even other Buddhists who make fun of it. Say, it's just way too much. So relax your mind, and let it be wonderful, right? There's so much more to learn. And to assume that reality has to squeeze down into our little garbage can of consciousness before it's real? If so, what do you do with last night's dreams? Dreams are inconceivable. You can't think of them. You can't talk about them. You can try to grab them. You know, it's somehow, so many of us react. In order to function, we have to deny anything that we can't measure or name. And yet then we go out and do these things that are so illogical and so cruel to each other, to fellow humans, to the animals, denying them the right to live, eating their bodies. You're a lesser species, I'm going to kill you and eat you. Like, so many aspects of human life contradict kindness and logic. And we know that if we do it, it's going to happen to us, and yet we do it anyway. We're just so short-sighted and narrow, pursuing desire. And here's the sutra saying to us, look at what is out there if you can let that go. Look at what is magnificently available to us in terms of wisdom and compassion and the joys of the six senses purified and interchanging. This is all real. This is the real reality of the Buddha's reality. This is the story of what's available to every human being when our minds are purified. And so to deny it simply because science can't measure it seems like shortchanging ourselves. Alrighty, Manjushri Bodhisattva is done with his narrating, his commentary. He's going to come back soon. The Bodhisattvas have more things to do. The next phase of the sutra talks about expedience. The Bodhisattva's ability to teach cleverly is praised here. So I want to let people know that tomorrow night, same time in California, same time tomorrow. It's a Monday tomorrow here in Australia, but starting at 12:30, I'm going to be explaining another chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra called the 10 Transferences chapter, Shihui Shangpin. And the 10 Transferences chapter is full of vows, full of good wishes that the Bodhisattvas make in order to teach, in the process of teaching others. It's quite just heart-filling when you hear how Bodhisattvas make wishes to benefit others. And when you do it a lot, when you make that a habit, then negative thoughts, self-doubts, fears, anxieties can't stand. They don't exist because the mind can't hold two opposing thoughts at the same time. So the more we cultivate, the more we're able to purify the mind of the troubles that we have, the blues, the depression, the despair that we see, because our minds are busy sending out goodness. It's really do-it-yourself Dharma therapy. The more we occupy ourselves reciting mantras, right now here at the Gold Coast Dharma Realm, there's a Shurangama mantra session going on. People are reciting the Shurangama mantra for hours every day. And engaging in that kind of activity, that's just one of many things we do. Engaging in that activity prevents, takes up the space in the mind that ordinarily we would use for worries, for self-doubts, for jealousy, for rage to arise, for greed. So if instead of letting those afflictions and emotions arise, we say, no, I'm busy, thank you. Nammo sadanto suche doye ola huri samya sampo toshe. I'm going to join. I'm going to go right out here now, share my screen, and take us to where? Take us to, I'm on Dharma Radio right now. Take us out to gcdr.org.au. Everybody get that? gcdr.org.au. And go right down here to our Shurangama mantra retreat. It's right here, and here's how you get there. Here's the Zoom ID. 会议代码 127598942. So if we go to Zoom and type that in, you can join the Shurangama mantra session. There's the times. So you find for yourself the times. But if you go here to gcdr.org.au, you can find the session and how to join in. How wonderful. What happens when we do that is what? What happens when we do that is blues and worries go away because our mind is being used for something wholesome. All right? Now, let's take a look here, back to Berkeley Buddhist Monastery. The morning and evening ceremonies are on a break until November. So through the month of October, our regularly scheduled online practice is on a break. The monks are traveling. We're off, and off to Europe, off to Poland and England and France, and then we're back and off to China later. So busy through October. Professor Verhoeven's lectures will begin next Friday, 10:13, 7:30 p.m. Pacific time. That is, this time is 11:30 on Saturday here in the Gold Coast. Stephen Tainer's classes are continuing through December 13th. Please check them out here. You can join a Zoom meeting. Stephen teaches in English. He's an experienced, wonderful teacher of Buddha Dharma meditation. The pictorial biography lecture happens every Saturday morning at 6 a.m. here in the Gold Coast, 1 p.m. in California on Friday. And that's the Abhayagiri monks are, let's see here, first Tuesday of the month. 10 Transferences lecture, that's what I told you about for tomorrow night. And there we go, by golly. You can go out to dharmaradio.org, dharmaradio.org, to find our good karma music, do a good deed, tell us what you did, and pick an album of Buddhist music or stories, whichever one that you will like, including music by our Benedictine monk Dharma brother, Father Cyprian, Spirit in the Cave of the Heart. Then you can read the good deeds. Let's take a look. Okay. 我学施法是吃没有油盐的食物，发现真的比吃带油盐的食物的多得多。OK， 好像打开了另一个食物的世界。感恩施法师，不客气。法师是这个世界默默无闻的英雄，不是吧？我就是喜欢吃饭的一个人。So from Suzhou in Anhui Province, this is Miss Zhang, says, I have learned from Dharma Master Shi about how to eat food without oil and salt. And it's so much better than seasoned food. Who knew? It opened the door into another world of flavor of the world of food. So you're welcome. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It's amazing how if you eat steamed broccoli, steamed cabbage, steamed cauliflower, oh man, steamed green beans, that's just, the flavor is just unique and inexhaustible. Okay, my family and I recently donated clothes, supplies, and toys to a donation center. Instead of throwing away items that are still usable, donate the items to be reused by somebody else, reducing waste that ends up in landfills. You bet. Good job. I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. Okay, so we're happy to send you Buddhist music and stories and Catholic music in exchange for a good deed. How about that? dharmaradio.org. Time to dedicate merit. To see you all tomorrow in our 10 Transferences lecture. Thank you all for joining. So glad that you could be here. Let's make a wish and send out that goodness even further. May every living being, our minds as one, radiant with light, share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find in giving unity, may our minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow leave their grief and pain. May this boundless light dispel the darkness of our endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. And I would ask you, why not? If the answer is no, why not? How come we don't all become compassionate and wise? Good question. Bow to the Buddhas if you're willing. Join me. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. See you all next week, everybody. Amitofo. Glad you're with us. Gratitude to the engineers and the volunteers. Amitofo. Bye now.